Waiting for Youthviewz at the
Yeah,
moment.
I think we're live, guys.
All right, cool.
Good evening, people, and welcome to one of our first live broadcast on YouTube. Uh, don't forget to follow us on Youthviewz with a Z, at Youthviewz with a Z, and subscribe to the channel and give us plenty of likes on Youthviewz on YouTube. That's Youthviewz with a Z. Guys, I want to welcome two guests tonight. My first guest, who is called Asim. Asim is 20 years of age, and Asim studies in the University of Birmingham. Asim, how are we doing?
Good.
Good stuff, good stuff. And Cameron is age 22. Cameron, you're from Yorkshire, yeah?
Yes, that's correct.
How are we doing, Cameron? Everything good?
I'm doing good.
Right, guys, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Welcome to the show. We thought, on a really warm evening, as it is, really nice warm evening. Well, it's not that nice, but it's a warm evening in July. But the weather's not the only thing that's warming up at the moment. Politics is also warming up because we have the initiation of a brand new Prime Minister, Boris the Clown Johnson.
Yeah.
So I just invited you guys onto the show today for one of our first live shows to just talk a little bit about Boris and what we know about him and whether we should be scared. As you know, this show or the channel itself is geared towards engaging young people. So over the next few days and weeks, we're going to be talking to a lot more young people about Boris Johnson. Asim, I want to start with you first, right? What's the controversy? Why is it big news what's controversial about Boris Johnson becoming Prime Minister of the United Kingdom?
I think it's just sort of the fact that he his past as well as his sort of the way he's made maneuvers to the top as well is quite controversial. How he's sort of been vying for top positions. He got Foreign Sec, and then obviously he left that because he wanted to make moves against Theresa May. Then he tried to do that.
Well, isn't he quoted, Asim, isn't he quoted as saying, as a youngster to his sister, that he wanted to be king of the world?
I haven't heard that, but
yeah.
Oh, wow.
His sister's also prominently known, Rachel Johnson. She comes on the TV.
She's a journalist, and she's Lib Dem, I think.
Yes, I
think she ran in the EU elections. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so she apparently, he said that he wanted to be king of the world. So he's not too far off, is he?
Not really. I mean, this is a good first step for him, really. Let's be honest.
Cameron, what about yourself? Are you worried?
Potentially, yes, actually, because over the last couple of months, there's been rumours of this electoral pact, and Nigel Farage has been flip-flopping on it between the Conservative Party and the Brexit Party. And I think if we end up leaving a no deal, that will end up happening.
Well, he's talked about no deal, hasn't he? But what we know about Boris Johnson is that he's one of the biggest flip-flop politicians that we've heard of, really. So he basically, you mentioned about Brexit there, Cameron. He wrote an article, didn't he, in his column, one supporting Remain and one supporting Leave, and it seems as if he just goes with the wind. So is that something to worry about, Cameron?
Can you repeat that, sorry?
Yeah, I said that you never really know which way Boris Johnson is on, which side he's on. So what I'm saying is that sort of non-ability to really sustain or make a decision and stick with it, is that worrying for us as our new Prime Minister?
Yes, because Boris will do anything that suits Boris the best. Yes. And you can see this in his previous views. When he was the mayor of London, he always argued against a referendum on the membership. despite campaigning for leave. He
Yeah.
also wrote 2 articles for the Telegraph. One endorsing membership of the European Union, the other one endorsing leaving.
Yeah.
And he published one endorsing leaving because he thought that's the best way for him to become Prime Minister. So whether Boris would do whatever will make him popular.
And I'm just looking at his voting record now, and it turns out on the 3rd reading of the withdrawal bill,
Yeah. What are we going to say?
he actually voted for May's deal. Actually,
it's absolutely preposterous.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know there are people out there and didn't want to get too deep into the Brexit side of things today, but I think we're always going to mention it. But
Yeah.
there are commentators. I mean, I was listening on the good old BBC. Not that we want to prop them up in any way, but I was listening to a show on 5 Live. They were talking about the only way that Boris is going to get Brexit through is possibly through a rebrand of Theresa May's Brexit deal. So how sad would that be on Theresa May if that were to happen?
Because I was reading today that he might negotiate bits of it, like the backstop and things like that, potentially to, to just sort of rebrand it. And I do remember, I think it was Portugal's, one of Portugal's ministers said that they would be open to renegotiating it. So I've seen there's sort of a rift inside the EU whether they want to negotiate it or not. And I think he's going to exploit that because I think he's gone to directly talk to EU leaders because I know I think he's either going to meet or has already met Leo Varadkar, obviously the
Irish Prime Minister.
So he's going to exploit that, I think.
Well, I think Cameron touched on it, and I think he made a really, really true statement when he said that Boris Johnson will do whatever is best for him. And I think what Boris Johnson will want to do is engineer a situation will keep him in number 10 for as long as possible. Now, if you'd have said to me even a year ago, or a little bit more than a year ago, that Boris Johnson is going to be the next Prime Minister, guys, I probably would have laughed at you if I'm honest with you. But it's a reality, isn't it now?
Yeah, but after sort of the 2017 general election, after they lost their majority and they only had, they were thinking about 12 off, I sort of saw that I could potentially see him becoming PM because obviously May's going to have to make maneuvers to keep her afloat and, give certain people promotions to keep her safe and stuff like that. And that's what we saw with obviously Boris Johnson's foreign sec, didn't we? So I sort of knew that he's going to make maneuvers to the top because that's what he's always wanted. That's why he backed Leave because he knew that David Cameron would resign, and he knew that he'd make moves then. So he's been sort of knocking down the wall as it will, like brick by brick.
Okay.
Against the ref.
Okay.
He's making moves really.
So you think the writings were on the wall all along? Okay, Cameron. Question for you, mate. Is it important that the Prime Minister should be somebody that could be trusted? And secondly, do you trust Boris Johnson?
Since the Prime Minister is a mission in the country, so a Prime Minister should be really transparent. You should have a connection with them and know what they're doing, what they're standing on.
Do you think he has been transparent, though, Cameron? Do you think he has been?
Well, no, he hasn't at all.
Okay.
And I think Boris Johnson is completely untrustworthy.
Untrustworthy?
Yeah. You can look at...
Controversial.
You can just look at high fed at the Mayor of London. There's evidence of that. For example, the Gordon Bridge.
Tell us about that.
So what I remember, he promised to build this bridge that never got built. Remember how this went?
Yeah, heard about that. Heard about that. And there's lots of false promises, isn't there? I mean, he talked about putting money into certain expenditure, never ever happened. There is talk about him wasting so much money. But what I wanted to move on to and focus on a little bit next was what we've heard a lot about in the media. Ask him if I can point this question to you, is his attitude towards people of color, in particular members of the Muslim community. Can you shed a little bit of light on that one for us?
I think it's just a great example is when he was foreign sec and he made, was it when he was foreign sec and he made the comments? What was it, Nazarene Ratcliffe when she was?
Yeah. He
made
some comments apparently which he hadn't done his research prior to, I think, attending a select committee, but he ended up saying something that ended up keeping her detained in Iran for longer than maybe she would have been, and the Irani regime apparently jumped on his comments and said, see, this is what we were saying. But I'm more sort of interested, Asim, in your opinions about when he referred to Muslim women as letterboxes.
Letterboxes, yeah. And he was like, what they call them, bank robbers as well?
Bank robbers as well, absolutely, yeah. Now, I mean, I'm not too sure on whether you're practicing. I believe from your name that you're Muslim. Does that offend you in any way?
I mean, politically, yes, because I'm a libertarian on social issues, and I believe that anyone should be free to wear whatever they want. It's a free country, and frankly, comments like that just shows that he's not as liberal as he may seem.
Yeah.
He tries to paint himself as sort of a centrist, I'm for the people, everyone can trust me sort of thing. But you can't then say that and then paint yourself as more of sort of on the liberal side of the Tories. It makes no sense, because that's where he was back in the day.
Do you think, Asim, that his comments in any way, so if we take those comments even in isolation for a second, do you think they're inflammatory in any way? I.e., do you think that people maybe on the hard right will listen to those comments and it may change their behaviours and help fuel racism or incidents of racism?
Yeah, because if they see someone in a position of power like that saying those things, they say, oh, look, if they're saying it, then surely that has some weight to it, And
now he's the Prime Minister of this country, so it exacerbates that even more, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, it'll be interesting, actually, when he becomes PM. This is where I'm a bit angry at the media, because if he gets interviewed, which he will at some point very soon, I doubt they'll bring up these comments at all. And if they do, they'll probably bring it up in a soft manner, and they won't grill him on it, which I can already tell that's going to happen. It angers me, honestly. And not just that, it's just all his comments that he's made over the years. The media aren't going to give him a hard time at all. They're going to walk, he's going to walk all over them.
And this is the problem, you see, is that you have a media that at this moment in time appears to be propping up the right and defending everything and almost excusing things, doesn't it? And that's why we want to try and use this channel to actually tell the truth, really, and actually get the opinions of people out there, let them make informed decisions and choices without being brainwashed, I think we want to say.
Yeah, because I mean, that's how I got into political YouTube channels, actually. Plugging Swiss for a second, he actually sort of got me interested in this stuff, because I started watching his channel during the general election, sort of around the time it got announced, and he was a pro-Corbyn Eurosceptic, and he talked about the things in the media that they weren't covering, like sort of the various rallies he'd talked at and what he's actually said, and that's what sort of got me into the alternative media and more independent YouTube channels. So absolutely.
Okay, Cameron, I want to bring you in at this stage now. Throughout his campaign, which I think personally wasn't a really difficult campaign for him, he hardly made it onto the media stage, but whenever he did make it, Cameron, he talked about giving tax relief to the richer, the higher earners of the country. Do you think that was a sensible policy?
No, but from Boris Johnson's viewpoint, it is. But I think Boris Johnson and that government prescribes to what the left call trickle down economics. They think the tax cuts are going to accelerate the economy.
Yeah, but I mean, when we're living in an age where homelessness is at record high, child poverty is at record high, people who are in work and the levels of poverty are at high levels as well. Do you think that's going to appeal to young people of the future who may be watching this broadcast thinking, "Gosh, I'm never going to make it like that if there's continuation tax relief for the rich"?
Yeah, and can I just chip in at this point?
Of course.
Point actually, that the Tories, if you look at them, they're not a part. Like when the Tories talk about low tax, they talk about for the people at the top. They didn't talk about it for the people that like sort of, you know, the working class and the people who actually do, you know, make the world go round. Like,
yeah.
If you look at what they've done in the past, they were the ones that introduced the council tax. You know, they were the ones that introduced the poll tax, and they were the ones that continually pushed the rates of VAT up. So if you look at it, they're not a party of low tax at all. They're just shoving all the tax rates onto the poor, but it's an indirect tax. They can technically say that, hey, we're not taxing you, but you know it's indirect. So it's through things like council tax or VAT. So the working class are still going to suffer the most despite these tax cuts. It's not going to hit them at all.
Do you think, Asim, in any way that if we remember at the beginning of the show, we talked about how he flip-flops from one side to the other. Yeah. Do you think maybe he said that in order to get in because he knew that the main demographic of voters that were going to be making these decisions, which was just over 100 or so thousand Conservative members, do you think it was maybe to appease them and then he gets in and possibly make?
I mean, it's like, I mean, it sort of reminds you of, you know, the Lib Dems during the 2010 elections when they were talking about the tuition fees. And when they got in, they didn't go through with it, did they? So no. I just think that with the Tories and sort of their broken record, I don't think we can sort of trust them when it comes to policies. Like, if you take the, for example, the energy price cap, they flip-flopped on it, like, I think 5 times already. So, you know, when it comes to things like in relation to taxation or price freezing or whatever, that, you know, you can't really trust them because, you know, they do whatever big business tells them. You know, it's not about the people. It's about how do they satisfy the bankers, the City of London, big businesses, that sort of thing.
You make a really good point there. Cameron, I just want to bring you in again at this stage now, because what I want to do is briefly talk about the NHS. Now, as you're aware, and then for any of our international watchers tonight, listeners tonight, you know, you will be aware that we have a health service that is possibly, arguably, one of the, if not the best health services, free at point of use health services in the world. It's a concept that was created by a Labour government, and it's something that has basically saved uncountable lives as a concept. And I think as British citizens, we're proud to live in this country and have that as a national treasure. Do we, Cameron, I want to bring you in. Do you think that the NHS is safe under the stewardship of Boris Johnson?
No.
No?
The main reason why is what Donald Trump said, I think last month, when he visited the United Kingdom.
When he was on his state visit, Cameron?
Yes, it was part of his state where he refused to roll the NHS for sale on a trade deal. Yeah.
That's right. That's correct. There was a question asked, wasn't there, by I believe somebody, one of the media. I'm going to say Sky News. So I think it was Beth Rigby, of one of the Sky News correspondents. She'd asked, is in any trade deal that we do with America, and she'd asked this to the outgoing Prime Minister Theresa May. Is the NHS on the table? And I believe she said Donald Trump was asked this. Sorry, he said that everything was on the table, didn't he, Cameron?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is. I mean, look, there's going to be people watching this who will really be worried about the NHS and parts of it being sold off to the Americans. Cameron, is that a reality? Is that possible?
I'll say it's very possible.
Yeah.
There's a couple of think tanks as well. We're not advocating reforming the NHS, just as Kate Andrews.
Oh yeah, was it IEA? Was it? I think.
Yeah, issue of economic.
Oh yeah.
She has actually produced a video on social media advocating reforming the NHS to a mixed model.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just 3-year pathway for the point of use for emergency care.
So in a nutshell, you think with Boris Johnson at the helm that the chances of the NHS or parts of the NHS being opened up to American markets is a real possibility, Cameron?
Yes. It is a real possibility.
That's really concerning then, isn't it?
Yeah. And they've just been slowly privatised by PFI contracts since John Major was Prime Minister.
Yeah, since '92. Yeah.
For a while. So as well.
They've slowly been doing that, haven't they? Asim, what's your view on this? Do you think we're at risk of losing the NHS to America?
Yeah, I think that it was going to happen at some point anyway, but Boris coming in just accelerates it. But even if he didn't come in, like I was mentioning in the Young Legislators chat earlier, right? That under current EU law and under our current PFI system, it was going to happen anyway, but albeit under a slower rate. So Boris merely coming in just means it will happen quicker, But regardless, it will happen, even if he doesn't come in.
Asim, that is unless the Labour Party gets its act together and shows unity, and possibly upcoming general election takes place and Mr. Corbyn comes into power.
Yeah.
Does that process slow down or does it excel?
I think that if they want to save the NHS, they need to start talking about things like actual laws in place and actual trade deals that the EU has done, because people need to remember that we're part of the EU Customs Union, and because of that, the EU Commission makes all our trade deals, and under trade deals such as CETA and, of course, for now, the shelved TTIP, there were big parts of that which promote privatization of the NHS, and American corporations are already using these trade deals that the EU has made to do it. But if Boris did it, they would have even more direct access, so they could privatize just as much, but they could do it quicker. So privatization is still going to happen under Labour, technically, if they don't speak up about the trade deals and all that. But I don't know, because they say they want to stay in a customs union, but does that mean keeping these trade deals? Like, they need to talk about this, I think. Yeah,
no, it's absolute, and it's a very complicated area that it's going to require probably another show to sort of we could cover that in a show in itself. But listen, guys, I really want to thank you. I mean, look, for your ages, there's a lot of wealth of knowledge there. There's a lot of research that you guys are sort of continuing to carry out on a daily basis. I just want to end with a final word from each of you. Just in short answers. Cameron, starting with you, is there exciting times ahead, or is it times to worry? In short,
there's always exciting times ahead. It's not anything's not all bad. For as we know, there could be a general election in the next couple of years. A Labour could get in. I don't think it all can be bad. I think there's still a lot of positive things we can get from our situation.
Good stuff. There's some optimism there. Ask him, what about yourself? I mean, he's Cameron's talked about a general election. I mean, he talks about within the next couple of years. A lot of the media are talking about.
Yeah, I think
the next few months.
that there will be, because I read, I was doing some reading on this earlier today, where Boris himself said that he wants a general election around autumn time, so probably around September-ish, because I think what he wants to do is he wants to test the waters with the electorate before we leave the EU, to either A, test his deal that he may negotiated, or test their appetite for a no deal. Either two of those things could happen, and I think that he's going to test the waters before October 31st. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, that you're absolutely right. There's a very good chance of that happening. And guys, don't forget, on this show, we will be covering all of that as time goes on. It's an exciting time for politics, and you know, we want to try and get as many people involved as possible. So please join us by following the Twitter handle @Youthviewz, Youthviewz with a Z on the end, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is called obviously Youthviewz. We will be bringing more media to you in the future, but I'm Harry Khan from Youthviewz. You've been great. Thanks, and see you soon. Guys, thanks for coming on the show. We look forward to having you soon.
Yeah, all right. Next time.
Take care, Cameron. Take care. Asim. See you later.
All right, see you.
Right, yeah.